that gives us a specific title. Nothing to boast in, because it is by God's grace that we receive those blessings. It is by God's grace that we are called the children of God. And he saved us to holiness. But the Jew relied on their heritage and the law of God. And they boasted in God. God gave us the law. And he gave us the prophets. And he gave us everything we need in order to live a holy life. And verse 18, it says, and know his will. And we approve what is excellent, because you are instructed from the law. They had everything necessary in order to please God, but faith. Because Hebrews said without faith, it is impossible to please God. Because we must believe that he is and is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And if you were sure that yourself are a guide to the blind and to those who walked in darkness. Jesus gave an illustration that was kind of mocking these people. He says, you are blind, and the people you lead are blind. They thought that they understood who God really was, because they had the law and they had the prophets, and of course Jesus reminded them, it is you. You testify is that you are the ones who killed the prophets. You're the ones who killed Zechariah between the altar and the holy place. You're the ones that did that. And they had the law, and yet they were killed. But look at this too. Now, we talk about the law. The Jews had a law. And that law was that, and one specific one, other than murder in the trial of Christ, is that they brought false witnesses to testify against Christ. These are the most religious, the most powerful men in all of Judah and all of Israel, and they brought false witnesses to testify against Christ. And the ninth commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. Jesus didn't have to answer them because they were tripped up in their lies. And here are these men, the most righteous men of their nation as people saw them, and they used trickery and lying to have Jesus executed. There's injustice in this land. There's injustice, always been injustice, and it seems that there always will be injustice. But let's look at this verse again. It says, and if you are sure that you are a guide to the blind, a light to those who are in darkness, that's how they saw them. They saw themselves as wise. And they thought that through their understanding that they would be able to bring the wicked, the Gentile to the knowledge of God. That's who they thought they were, the ones to whom God used to bring the Gentiles to the knowledge of God. That was their purpose. That was the reason that God chose Israel, that they will be a light to the Gentiles. But that light never came through the religious leaders. They were just religious and lost. They saw the Gentiles as immature because they didn't know the law. And the truth be told, they didn't understand the same laws that they were teaching others. They didn't understand God's grace and his mercy that's found in the law. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand that the only way that you can keep the law is by faith. It was not Abraham's keeping of the law that made him righteous. They missed that. They missed the understanding of that. It was because Abraham believed God and righteousness was imputed to him. So his righteousness was not conceived within his own heart, but it was given to him by God. God declared Abraham righteous because he put his trust in him. In verse 20, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of children, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth. They thought they had it all. They thought that they were the ones that God had chosen to bring light to the Gentiles, to bring knowledge to the ignorant, or the foolish, and they were to be a teacher of children. Well, God commanded them, you are to teach your children and your children's children, and you are to teach them to obey the law diligently and observe everything that God has says. You are to love God, the Shema says. You're to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might, the Shema says. And they missed that part. They went through years and years, and there was no love of God because when Christ came, they rejected him. And he exemplified what God was like, that he was merciful, and that he was gentle,